What's wrong with you, Mayor Aaron? It's Jillmas season. Christmas is only a couple weeks away.
Well, you know what, Co-Mayor Lex? I'm feeling rather scroogey because there's no new women's wrestling figures supposed to be delivered this month, so I have nothing to review. So bah humbug.
That's not what the Jillmas season is all about. It's about spreading love to everyone out there that supports women's wrestling as much as us.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that.
Here, open this present up. Maybe it will spark that Jillmas spirit up. Just promise me you'll lose that hat.
Oh, thank you, Co-Mayor Alexa. You really didn't have to do that, but if this might spark my Jillmas spirit, might as well open it up. Oh. Wow. No way. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville, and welcome to the very first video of Jillmas 2024. Now, those of you that are new, what is Jillmas? It's a culmination of all the holidays. Now, I celebrate Christmas, but I know not everybody out there does. I don't want anyone to ever feel excluded in this channel, so I created Jillmas to kind of encompass all of the holidays together. Now, with that being said, there's been some things going on that has kept me very busy the last few weeks. However, I have plenty of videos coming out through the rest of the month, more Jillmas videos that I'm really excited to share with y'all. In today's video, I'll be covering my wish list for 2025. What women's wrestling figures I want to see released by Mattel, Jazwares, some of these other companies in 2025. Now, what I'm going to do is go over each type. So, Elites, main event figures, AEW figures, and I'm going to start off showing the figures that I wanted during last year's wishlist video, and then we'll cover what was actually released this past year, and then we'll cover what I want to see next year. So, with that being said, let's get started with WWE Mattel Elites. So in my 2024 wishlist video, the Elites that I wanted to see Mattel make were JC Jane, Mia Yim, Gigi Dolan, Tamina, Kairi Sane, and Maxine Dupree. Now, what we actually got in 2024... we did get a Kairi Sane Elite announced. It actually should be coming very soon. I'm hoping it gets here by the end of December, but we'll just have to wait and see. It looks like it might be the best women's wrestling figure of all time, honestly. So I am happy that we had that announced and shown off. And Maxine Dupree, although she did not get an Elite, Her main event figure is a top 10 figure of the year. I think it's spectacular. I absolutely love it. So I am happy that those two were checked off my list from last year. Now in 2025, the elites that I want to see, Michin, Bianca Belair, and Bayley with actual unique body sculpts that depict their physique. I think Scarlett's due to have an updated look elite. Nikki Cross and Roxanne Perez in her Pennywise gear. So I know we recently got an elite of Bayley, and we got a few Bianca Belair figures this past year, but we have never gotten a Bayley and a Bianca in an elite form that actually represents their physique. You know, a lot of times they can be super lazy with women's wrestling figures and just reuse parts. That's probably one of my biggest gripes with Mattel and their women's figures, is sometimes they get lazy or cost effective, I guess, and they just choose wrong parts for these women's wrestling figures. But in my opinion, if they can fix Solo Sikoa's body sculpt in just a few series, then why has it taken this many years to fix Bianca and fix Bayley? We still have not gotten a definitive Bianca or Bayley figure that actually represents their body, and I think that's super important. So I really want to see them released in the elite line. Now, Mia Yim, Michin, she needs an elite, and I say that because she got a Reckoning elite, and it was a sick figure, but the mask wasn't removable. The mask was permanent, and that, like, oh, it looked like she had a good face sculpt and scan underneath that mask, but you couldn't take it off. So I want to see her in the elite line so very bad. Now, she did have a main event or a basic figure come out, but it left a lot to be desired. Scarlett. So Scarlett did have an elite released before, but it was a whole different character, a whole different look, and that face sculpt and scan was so-so. But I think her new look is super toyetic. I'd love to see her with her dark hair, that new attire that she's been wearing. I'd love to see her in the elite line. Now, Nikki Cross, Wyatt 6, there's a ball on a tee, and Mattel just has to hit that ball out of the park because they need to make that an elite form, and I'm sure they will. I honestly think that they will. And Roxanne Perez, she did get an elite, but I want to see her in the Pennywise gear. Now, I did some research, and it looks like Mattel has made some, like, Monster High Pennywise type dolls, so I think they have a license to Pennywise in the It movies, and if they do, they need to release a Roxanne Perez in that Pennywise gear in the elite line and make some changes to her face sculpt and scan and make it an excellent figure. But yeah, those are the elites I want to see in 2025. Now, in last year's wish list video in 2024, I wanted to see a Bayley Ultimate Edition depicting her SummerSlam 2022 look. Bayley's long overdue for an Ultimate Edition. She deserves one, and it sucks that it took so long to get the Damage Control Elite Bayley. However, unfortunately, we did not get that Ultimate Edition Bayley. However, in 2025, I want to see that Bayley from SummerSlam 2022. I think it's a gimme for an Ultimate Edition. I also want to see Bianca Belair from SummerSlam 2022 in Ultimate Edition form. So not to harp on it, but I'm going to harp on it. Bayley and Bianca are big stars in the company, and they've never gotten figures that actually represent their physiques, right? And I want to see them both in the Elite line, but I also want to see them released in the Ultimate Edition line. Now, I was at SummerSlam 2022, so I'm a little biased here, but I absolutely love the attires of Bianca and Bayley that night, and I think they would both be excellent Ultimate Editions, especially with new body sculpts and with the entrance gear. I just think these two figures would be excellent Ultimate Edition figures. And on top of that, this Bayley, I can't stress enough how bad I want to see this Bayley in the Ultimate Edition line. I think she's the one superstar that has not gotten an Ultimate Edition, that she's long overdue for one. We did get a Bianca one, and it was good, just not perfect, but I think she deserves another. But yeah, either way, I want to see a Bayley Ultimate Edition, whether it's in this attire or it's not. She needs to have an Ultimate Edition released in 2025. In last year's wishlist video, the women that I thought could be released in the basic line, and if proper care was put into them, they could be good figures, were Zoe Stark, Nia Jax, Thea Hale, Shotzi, and Tegan Nox. Now, what we actually got was not one, but two main event style Thea Hale figures. So that checked that off. And I am going to call them main event figures for the future reference in this video, but at the time I was still calling them basics. Now, Zoe Stark didn't get a main event figure, but even better, she got an Elite, and it is a fantastic Elite, top 10 of the year. And Nia Jax was actually shown to have a future Elite coming out. Now, it was the very early stages that Bill McKenna showed, but we are getting an updated Nia Jax Elite, so I'll mark those three off my list. Now, an updated Shotzi and an updated Tegan Nox were not released in the main event line, which is unfortunate because Tegan Nox recently was released by the company, so she won't get an updated main event figure. She did get a figure early in her career, but we didn't get an updated one. And Shotzi, we did not get an updated look Shotzi in that main event line. But for 2025, these are women that I think if Mattel put the effort into them, could be pretty dang good main event style women's figures. Now that would be Valhalla. Valhalla Holla Holla at your boy, Lash Legend, Isla Dawn, Ava, Jakara Jackson, and Alba Fire. So yeah, most of the women that I think Mattel could release in the main event line and do a good job with are NXT women, and I'll get to the next segment here. The NXT women's division is my favorite division, right? Cat just jumped in the tree. But either way, I think these are women that if they put the proper care and attention into the figures, they can make some pretty cool main event figures of these superstars. Now, Valhalla, look at that. Look at Valhalla Holla Holla. She is toyetic. They need to release her in figure form. Now, Sarah Logan did get a basic a few years back, and it was actually a really good, really underrated figure, but she's overdue for a new figure. She really is. And this new look that she's had for a couple years now would be excellent. Now, Lash Legend and Jakara, they would be excellent in the line together. I love that tag team. They're rising superstars. And Alba and Isla are actually long overdue for figures. Now, I know I can keep saying that in this video, but there's a lot of people out there that anytime Mattel releases, you know, what you want to see or what figures you want to see, a lot of women's wrestling figure fans want to see Isla and Alba, and rightfully so. They're pretty awesome. They have a great look, so they need to be released in figure form. And Ava, I think that is probably the easiest one to make because she's more of a GM type now. Her attire is pretty basic, so I think they can release an Ava in GM type attire and do a good job. So I really hope we get all of these in the main event line this coming year. That's Lukey. The NXT Women's Division is my favorite division in all of wrestling. I just absolutely love every single woman competitor on that roster. I love that they get the proper amount of TV time, exposure. I just love NXT, and I think the women are treated very fairly there. So last year when I made my wish list, there were 6 specific women that I wanted to see released in figure form. Now, I did want them released in Elite form, but we'll get to that here. Now, the women I wanted to see released in figure form were Lash Legend, Lola Vice, Kiana James, Fallon Henley, Lyra Valkyria, and Wendy Chu. Now, what we got in 2024 was we have Kiana James and Lyra announced as upcoming main event figures, so that's pretty cool, especially because both of them do have chases, even though I missed out on pre-ordering the chases anyway. And even though that Kiana does not look very good in my opinion, I'm glad she is getting in a figure. And Lola was shown off and announced as a future Elite. So 3 of the 6 women on my NXT Women's checklist for 2024 have been checked off, and I'm super, super excited. Now, I do think Lyra and Kiana deserve to have Elites. I think with their attire, their character work, and everything else, they need to have Elites, right? But either way, we'll see how the main event figures are. And the Lola, hopefully the Lola changes from the design that we saw. I don't think that's a very good render, but either way, I'm happy she's getting an Elite. She's an amazing talent. Now, in 2025, the NXT women that I want to see released in figure form, preferably Elites, Julia, Fallon Henley, Ariana Grace, Stephanie Vacour, Wendy Chu, and JC Jane with the mask. So yeah, I absolutely love the NXT Women's Division. They are just so talented, and their characters, their gimmicks, their personalities are larger than life, and I think that would translate perfect into figure form. So, number one, I want to get this out there. Wendy Chu needs a figure. She is she might be my favorite superstar, her and B-Fab. I absolutely love Wendy Chu. I love her character work when she was the nappy, sleepy Wendy, and I love the evil, dark Wendy that's came out. I've wanted a figure of hers since I saw her character a couple years ago. So Mattel, please make a Wendy Chu in any way, shape, or form. Now, I would love to see her in the Elite line, and this dark Wendy is super toyetic. She could come with really cool accessories, and I would love a Wendy Chu figure so bad. It is probably my most wanted women's wrestling figure is a Wendy Chu. You know, even if it's released in the main event line, I'd settle for that, but I really want an Elite Wendy. Now, Julia and Stephanie, I think, are easy figures to put in the Elite line that would sell. I honestly think they would sell. They have a rapid fan base, a big fan base. They've never had figures, so to release them in the line as quick as they did Tongaloa and Jacob Fatu, at least they announced those, and Ethan Page, I think they need to rush and get Julia and Stephanie out there because they would sell and they would be excellent figures, especially in Elite form. Fallon Henley, she's a rising star in NXT, and I think an Elite of her would be excellent. She's well-deserved. Now, speaking of well-deserved, JC Jane, she and Gigi have really got the short end of the stick ever since Toxic Attraction broke up. They really have. Now, JC had a good basic or main event style figure. Gigi did not. But JC has a very interesting looker. She had one where she'd wear a mask to protect her face, and I just think that would be an excellent Elite. I would love it with the leather jacket, that mask, the dark lipstick, the dark makeup. I think that would be an excellent Elite. And Ariana Grace, I think, is freaking awesome. I think an Elite of her would be a lot of fun. I think it would appeal to a lot of people on the shelves who might not be too familiar with her character, but either way, these are the NXT women that I want to see released in the figure line, whether it be main event or preferably the Elite line, but I want to see these women in 2025, especially Wendy Chu. Please, Mattel, make a Wendy Chu. So 2024 was a pretty big disappointment as far as women's wrestling figures in the AEW Jazwares line go. And that's not quality whatsoever because they make some of the best, if not the best, women's wrestling figures out there, and I stand by that. But what's disappointing is there were only 6 women released in the AEW Jazwares line in all of 2024, and that's a big step backwards, a big letdown in my opinion, especially because I know they can make quality women's wrestling figures. Either way, in last year's wishlist video, what I wanted to see in 2024 was an updated Chris Statlander, Serena Deeb, Riho in blue and white, don't throw tomatoes at me, Deanna, and Timeless Toni Storm in black and white. Now, what we got in 2024, we got a Timeless Toni Storm Ringside Collectibles exclusive in black and white, and that figure, the more I have it, the longer I have it, the longer I look at it, the more I love it. The more I absolutely love that figure. That thing is near perfect, and even though I think the likeness is off, the whole prestige of that figure is tremendous. I absolutely think it's fantastic. So we got that, and I actually did color her in this picture, but you can't tell because it's black and white, so that's kind of a funny thing there. And Chris Statlander, I have her colored in like she was checked off of my list. However, I don't think she should be. So she was shown off in a future line, an updated Chris, but I think she might have been removed from that line, so I don't know. I get confused with all the changes. You know, Jazwares tends to announce lines way ahead of time, and then they make changes to those lines as time goes by, and it's easy to get confused. So Chris might have been removed from that line, so she might not deserve to be checked off of that list from last year. I'm not too sure, but the other 3 we definitely didn't get. But that Timeless Toni Storm does really make me happy. Now in 2025, the AEW women that I want to see released in figure form: Queen Aminata, Deonna Purrazzo, Athena, Camille, and Kiera Hogan. Now my absolute most wanted AEW women's figure that I want to see in 2025 is Harley Cameron in her cat face paint. Not just any cat face paint, I'm talking about the Six Flags amusement park carnival cat face paint. Jazwares, if you're watching, we need this figure, and we need it this year. Yeah, 2024 was a bit of a letdown for us women's wrestling figure collectors with the AEW Jazwares line because we only got 6 women released in this past calendar year. Unless Sky Blue arrives by the end of the month, which she probably won't. We only got 6 in the last year. And that's super frustrating because the AEW Jazwares line makes some of the best, if not the best, women's wrestling figures out there. The attention to detail and care they put into each women's figure is spectacular. It's amazing. I can't say enough good about it, but that's why it's such a disappointment, because I want to see more. I want to see more than 6 women released in a year. And hopefully this year's new 2025, I want to see more than just 6. But the 5 that I really want to see, or I guess the 6 that I really want to see released this year, or Queen Aminata, because, hey, she's toyetic, her charisma, her character is excellent. Diana needs a figure, simple as that. Athena needs a Jazwares figure. I'd love to compare that to her Mattel Ember Moon Elite, see how they stack up, but she's been doing great work in Ring of Honor, so even if they made her a Vault exclusive or something, I think Jazwares needs to make an Athena figure. Camille would pair perfectly with the upcoming Mercedes Monet Jazwares AEW figures. Now, Mercedes would be all over this list, but she had figures announced. However, at the time of this recording, they're not up for pre-order anywhere, which is scary to me, because how long are we going to have to wait to get a Mercedes Monet figure? They should have rushed it out, really pushed to get it out quick, because she's been with that company now for close to a year, I believe. So yeah, I cannot wait for Mercedes Monet to be released in the AEW Jazwares line, because Sasha Banks, Mercedes, whatever, she might be my all-time favorite women's wrestler. I think she did so much for women's wrestling. I know some people might argue with me with that, but just personally, that's my opinion. I love Sasha Mercedes. But who better to pair with her than Camille? That'd be great. Now, Kiera Hogan, I don't know if she would sell too well. However, I love Kiera. I've been a fan of her since Impact Wrestling. Really watched her career grow, so I'd love to see her released in the Jazwares line. Now, my most wanted AEW women's figure that I want to see released, whether it's a ringside exclusive, a vault exclusive, whatever, I want to see Harley Cameron, and I want her in the cat face paint. The cat face paint that when you go to an amusement park, you see little kids sitting in the corner in this booth getting their faces painted by these professionals. They come out of that booth and boom, they got cat face paint, just like my girl here. And I think that would be awesome to release a Harley figure with that cat face paint. Even if it was an alternate head, or like I said, an exclusive, that would be great. But I want to see that Harley Cameron with the cat face paint really bad in 2025. What I want to see released in the From the Vault series is Kelly Kelly from Elite 17, Liv Morgan from Elite 69, and Alexa Bliss from Elite 53. So there has been a real lack of women included in the From the Vault line or the Greatest Hits line. And there are some women's wrestling figures out there that are rather expensive or hard to find, or just could use some updating. And these are the 3 that I want to see released in either the Vault line or the Greatest Hits line. Now, Kelly Kelly, Elite Series 17. This is the first woman included in the Elite line. It is a legendary epic figure, and it is kind of expensive right now. So I would love to see that re-release, so collectors, women's wrestling figure collectors, can have a piece of history and have that figure updated. Now, the Alexa Bliss Elite 53, it's not the hardest figure to find, but I included it because I want to see this figure re-released with an updated TrueFX face scan, because this face, in my opinion, it is not a good face print. I guess it's more of face paint, right? This is before TrueFX face scan technology, so I think this figure could really benefit from that. I'd love to see it re-released with an updated scan on the face. I love the Harley Quinn attire. I think that'd be awesome. Now, my most wanted figure to be released, or re-released, I guess, would be Liv Morgan from Elite 69. This was the Target exclusive Elite, and it was very hard to find in stores. It's expensive online. And on top of that, it is in my top 10 best women's wrestling figures of all time. It's a great figure. I absolutely love it. And I think if this was re-released, it would sell excellent. So I want to see this figure re-released really bad. So what TNA women I want to see released by Power Town in 2025 are Ash by Elegance, Tasha Steelz, and the Undead Bride, Su Yung. So I've never reviewed a Power Town figure because they've never released a woman. Now, they did have Jordan Grace up for pre-order and Alundra Blaze, and I pre-ordered 2 Alundras, 2 Jordans, but they got pushed back. We're not supposed to get them now until I think March, April or somewhere. So it's still months away, and that's super frustrating because I want to see how these figures are. I know there's a lot of hype around the men's figures they've released, but I want to see how they do with the women. And I'm really excited to review those, but the weight game is tough, I will be honest with you. However, if they increase the rate that they release figures in 2025, I want to see Ash by Elegance, Tasha Steelz, and the Undead Bride, Su Yung. Ash by Elegance, I think, would be great. She never got an Elite. Dana Brooke never got an Elite in WWE, so she is deserving of an Ultimate Supreme, figure with all the bells and whistles that I know Power Town can do. Tasha Steelz is a BA. She is awesome, and she's never gotten a figure. And the Undead Bride, Su Yung, makes my list again because, I mean, she's the Undead Bride Su Yung. She's amazing. So the women I want to see in the Legends line in 2025, Stacy Keibler in her Dudleyville attire, Jacqueline Moore, and Victoria. Alright, so they really don't put women in the Legends line. And I don't want to hear them say, oh, well, that's because women don't sell, because the Legends line doesn't sell. Ain't nobody buys Legends figures. Go to your Target and let me know how many Legends figures there are. And that's if there's any left after being discounted 80% or so. But either way, I want to see women included in this line. Now, I know we got Stacy Keibler previously, a Miss Hancock that didn't exactly fly off the shelves. Don't tell Secretary Stase about this. But who made the decision to make a Miss Hancock figure? Who would think that that would actually sell? There's a million other Stacy Keibler looks that I think would have been popular, that people would have been really excited to scoop up. Like this, the Dudleyville Stacy Keibler. This would go great with the Dudley figures. I think it would be excellent. They obviously have her license, so to release a Stacy Keibler in the Dudleyville attire would be awesome. Now, Jacqueline Moore has been my most wanted legend, and I included her here because guess what? She signed a Legends deal recently, so hopefully they can make figures of her. She got a Jax figure back in the day, but it is one of the most horrifying figures of all time. Jacqueline Moore is a needle mover for women's wrestling, and she did so much and really didn't get enough credit for it, so I would love her to be in the Elite line. Her and Wendy Chu are my most wanted women to be included in the Elite line, like ever, so I want to see her figure released. And Victoria, I think she recently signed a Legend deal, so I would love to see her in the Elite line. I think an Elite of her is long overdue. Now, in last year's wish list video, I wanted to see some Backstage personnel made in figure form. Samantha Irvin and Kayla Braxton, and unfortunately they are both no longer with the company, so we won't be seeing those, but I honestly think that we should get more Backstage personnel for figure feds out there, or collectors like me that just appreciate all the women that are involved in the everyday production of WWE programming. You know, I really thought these figures would have sold pretty dang well, especially Samantha, and I think they dropped the ball big time. So unfortunately, we won't be getting these two women. So let's take a moment of silence for the fact we will never get these two women released in figure form, you know. Yeah, so I think Mattel needs to do a better job of capturing popularity and releasing a figure. Now, I say that because they really don't release a whole lot of Backstage personnel or announcers, anything to that type, and that's a shame because even Jazwares released a female referee. They've announced some announcers, Tony Schiavone and Excalibur and I think Taz. So the fact that Mattel really doesn't do that much is disappointing because they have so much talented personnel behind the scenes beyond the wrestling ring. And I think if they released them in figure form, they would fly off the shelves. Now, I get Kayla Braxton might have not been the most popular pick, but I'm a fan of Kayla, so that's why I included her last year, and she's no longer with the company. The one that hurts so much is Samantha Irvin. She's no longer with the company, but she was so popular. She was so amazing at her job, and I wanted Mattel to make a figure of her so bad. I think they missed a huge opportunity. I think it would have sold great, and I would have loved to review it and add it to my collection. It would have been unique, would have been different. And it would have been great, and we're not going to get that, and that hurts. It hurts almost as much as Sasha Banks not getting an Ultimate Edition before her departure, you know. Samantha needed a figure, and on top of that, they could have released Authentic Scale Ring with Samantha. That would have been perfect. An Ultimate Edition Samantha even, and that would have been great. A couple different dresses, couple hairstyles, couple different microphones maybe, but we won't get it, and that really does hurt. So I hope she comes back to the company because she would have been a spectacular figure. Now, the woman I want to see included by Boss Fight Studios in the Legends of Lucha Libre line is Lady Shani. That was my pick for 2024, and it stays the same for 2025. So I love the Legends of Lucha Libre line by Boss Fight Studios. You know, historically, they are the first company to ever send me a women's wrestling figure on the house for free for me to review on the channel. And that meant so much to me. That Lady Maravilla they sent me, I love that figure for sentimental reasons and also because it's awesome. So when I saw that they were releasing an Ultimate Supreme type Taya Valkyrie, I was so stoked. I pre-ordered it. I was ready to review it. And it's still not here. it is still not here in LumberJillville. There was a handful of, I guess, online influencers that got that series and got to review them and whatnot, but I wasn't included in that, so womp womp. You know, I'm just waiting for it to arrive because I really want to review it. But my point is, they make really amazing women's wrestling figures. They do a fantastic job. That Lady Maravilla is so awesome. But the wait time between the figures in the series is a huge disappointment. Big disappointment. Having to wait this long between the Lady Maravilla and the Taya is super disappointing. So maybe in 2025 they'll up the production a little bit or get a new factory or something to pump out these figures, because I would love to see more women released in the line because they do make quality figures. And I want to see Lady Shani. I want to see her. I think she's very popular. She had a great career, has a great career, and I think she's very toyetic. So I would love to see this figure released in 2025, but I'm not holding my breath because at this rate, a figure's going to come out by them like every 2-3 years. So Mattel needs to capitalize on the popularity of certain women's wrestlers and pump out figures of them in a calendar year. They do a good job with the men, right? Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, even Solo Sikoa's had a few. AJ Styles. They have pumped out so many figures of those men within a calendar year in different series, different repaints, different re-releases. They always make them available on the toy shelves. They need to do that with the women, and they never have. There's often years between Elites released of popular superstars like Bayley, for goodness sakes. But I think Liv needs to be put in that category of a popular female superstar that they pump out different figures of, different repaints, different re-releases, different attires, different series. We need more Liv. Now, I am happy to say it appears they're doing that with Rhea Ripley, and I'm so freaking excited and happy that they are capitalizing on her popularity. And it looks like they're releasing a few Rhea figures this coming year. We had a couple this past year, but it looks like they're releasing quite a few in 2025. And I'm so freaking excited that they're capitalizing on a popularity of a female wrestler like Rhea. But I also want to see that same treatment with Liv. So that's why I included this segment, because I want to see Liv Morgan released a lot in this next year. In a lot of different series, a lot of different waves. We need to see tons of Rheas and tons of Livs on the shelves, on the pre-order website, everywhere, all at once. Whew! So that was a lot of fun giving y'all my LumberJillville women's wrestling figure wish list for 2025. Now let me know in the comments what women's wrestling figures you want to see released in 2025. I would love to see y'all's list. I don't care if it's a list this long or just a couple lines. I want to read them. I want to see what figures y'all want to see released in 2025 by Mattel, Jazwares, or some of these other companies. I would love to see that. Otherwise, I appreciate you taking the time for watching. There'll be some really exciting Jillmas videos coming out very soon, like my top 10 women's wrestling figures of 2024, and I might even do the worst women's wrestling figures of 2024. Also, I might do a collection room tour update, but stay tuned. Those videos will be out very soon. Now, thanks for watching. Have a great night, y'all.